Thank you. I would like to take the chance to talk about some of the activities of LGBT Asylum Support Foundation. As I said, LGBT Asylum Support is dedicated to the well-being of LGBT asylum seekers in the Netherlands. We help them at two levels, at micro level and macro level. By micro level, I mean we help them personally in the asylum procedure. We interview them, we provide them with information how to go through the asylum procedure. To be specific, for example, we emphasize the importance of being open about their sexual orientation when they are interviewed by the Dutch Immigration and Naturalization Service. Because as it is mentioned before by other participants, the LGBT asylum seekers are normally speaking very closed about their sexual orientation. They are really afraid to talk about it at their asylum procedure, and that can bring them into a lot of problems. One of them is that they would be denied residence permit. And at the macro level, we talk to the politicians in the Dutch society, for example, with parliament members about changing some of the policies of the organizations, governmental organizations involved with asylum procedure and the accommodation of LGBT asylum seekers. For example, we talk to the politics or parliament members about the importance of an effective policy of housing for LGBT asylum seekers while they are staying in refugee camps, or later in the case that they get a residence permit, they are going to get a house somewhere in Holland. And the normal procedure is that, for instance, the organization responsible for the accommodation of this LGBT asylum seekers or asylum seekers in general is called COA in Holland, the Central Agency for the Reception of the Asylum Seekers, the official name. They put LGBT asylum seekers, for example, in very remote refugee camps, cut off from the, for example, the LGBT network, LGBT organizations, and of course they don't have much money to travel all the way, for example, to Amsterdam or big cities to have a bit of social life. And because LGBT asylum seekers, in my view, are the most vulnerable group of refugees, they would be even more isolated. They are staying in refugee camps at the mercy of their countrymen who are homophobic, who are used to abuse, torture, and rape their LGBT countrymen. It's in their DNA. They have actively done it before, or no, or they have consented to it. So we try to talk to the politicians about the importance of having an effective housing policy to put LGBT refugees near big cities, to have access to LGBT organizations, LGBT network, and social life. Or afterwards, after they get their residence permit, again they are put in very, for example, remote villages in some cases, at the mercy of the local people who are, for example, very religious. We have had cases that those LGBT refugees have been abused by the local population, and he had to leave his house and just go live somewhere in a big city as homeless, yeah, on the street. So we're trying to arrange it via politics to put LGBT asylum seekers in bigger cities near to LGBT organizations and social networks. And I heard a lot also about the problem with interpreters or translators, and of course that's true. I must confirm that fact. I personally also experienced it during my own asylum procedures. I experienced like 4 or 5 interpreters at that time. 4 or 5 were homophobic, and I could see it even from their face. They couldn't hide it, but it was like they are gonna throw up at any moment because they were disgusted by the fact that I was openly talking about my homosexuality to the officials. You could just see it on their faces. And it's also represents another bigger problem. Because these interpreters or translators are normally speaking highly educated people already staying in, for example, in this case, Holland for 10 years, 20 years, but still they are so homophobic that they even cannot hide this discussion of discuss of LGBT asylum seekers in the presence of the Dutch officials. And the Dutch officials do not notice their homophobia because they are not used to the cultural code of behavior of those interpreters. They can detect it, they can recognize it. But of course, the refugee who is sitting there to tell his story can see it very obviously. And I have to ask myself at that time that this interpreter has been here for 10 years, 20 years, highly educated and everything, and it's still the same mentality with which they came to Holland. And it's very sad to say because it's maybe a sign of a failed integration policy. Another thing that I would like to talk about is the diversification of LGBT or non-LGBT organizations related to active in the field of refugees and in this case LGBT asylum seekers. I think it's very important to diversify the organizations, for example, the immigration offices, NGOs active in the field of helping refugees inside refugee camps and outside refugee camps, because bicultural, LGBT-friendly employees and staff could be a good bridge between the LGBT asylum seekers and their colleagues active in the field. At this time, LGBT Asylum Support in Holland is busy with a campaign called Not Gay Enough. One of the problems that LGBT refugees have with, for example, the Dutch Immigration Office and most probably with other immigration offices in other European countries is that it's very difficult to prove that they are gay. And one of the roots of this problem is that those employees of the immigration office are not so much familiar with the cultural background and socio-linguistic background of the refugees. They cannot pick up the signals, so they cannot put the information they get from the LGBT refugees in the right context. So we face a lot of LGBT people, LGBT asylum seekers, who are rejected by the immigration office because they are considered not gay enough. Some of which, because I come from the same background and culture and everything, I could say from the 2-kilometer distance that they are gay, but they are still refused by the immigration offices because of the lack of in-depth knowledge about their background. So, and because of the lack of those information, the immigration office turns the interviews into a sort of IQ test. So if you are smart enough, the chance is much higher to get asylum permit as a gay man than being a gay man but not smart enough to prove it to the immigration office. And the other thing that I would like to talk about is the fact that we know, I think, already that LGBT asylum seekers and refugees are the target of abuse, rape, torture, and everything. I think you know all about it in their countries of origin and even in the refugee camps here in Europe. And but the thing is that they also don't get much support from the traditional LGBT organizations, for example, in Holland, and probably in other European countries. The things which I've noticed all the time in my working, in my daily experience with LGBT refugees, is that the lack of solidarity between of the LGBT organizations with refugees. I think I've already told a lot, and I think I will talk a bit more about my personal experience in a few minutes, I think. Thank you.